allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first things first, Mr. Hollenbeck, are there any new appointments to the commission?
Yes, we have a number of them, not necessarily in any particular order, but as they've been handed to me. The LaPorte County Commissioners have appointed Connie Gramarosa. I believe she's here. Welcome. Hold your applause here. I'm sorry. There we go. The town of Beverly Shores has appointed Elaine Hunt.
Ellen.
Hi, Ellen.
Ellen. Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen. My mistake, I apologize. The town of Burns Harbor has appointed Jane Judson.
Jane
Jordan.
Jordan. How you doing?
Good.
Good morning.
Jordan, I'm sorry. The LaPorte County Council has appointed a familiar face, Justin Keel.
Look at
I can't get rid of
that.
The Porter County Commissioners have appointed Barb Regnitz, just right here. The town of Pottawatomie Park has appointed Regina Rudgell. The Porter County Council has appointed Ronald Stone.
Red, by the way, too.
Red. Better known as Red.
Better known as Red.
I believe that's the extent of the communications we've had from commission appointing authorities, and all of them are in proper form, and they are duly seated as members of this august body.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome to the new members of the commission. We appreciate your presence and your attendance this morning. If there's one thing that I can hope to impress upon you this morning, it would be that the work we do here is important. It may seem bureaucratic and benign sometimes, but this body is a council of governments that represents 750,000 people. And we deal with regional matters of transportation, environment, and economic development. And notably, we oversee a $1.5 billion quadrennial transportation improvement program. So thank you very much for being here and participating. And I encourage you to avail yourself of our illustrious executive director, Mr. Warner, here, or any of the other NERPC old timers. Some of us are old timers, right? I'm going on 7 years.
Yeah, right.
Justin, don't you dare say it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, moving on to roll call. Ms. Eklund, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Kyle Allen. Dwayne Arndt. Jeanette Bass. Thomas Black.
Here.
Kevin Brightsky. Charlie Brown. Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Bill Carroll.
Here.
Anthony Copeland. Don Kraft.
Here.
Jocelyn Denham.
Here.
Tom Dermody.
Present.
John Drewinski. Dinah Dumbris.
Present.
Denise Ebert.
Present.
Bill Emerson.
Here.
Robert Forster.
Here.
Richard Hardaway.
Here.
Tony Hendricks. Kelly Hunt.
Here.
Jack Geralds.
Here.
Jane Jordan.
Here.
Justin Keel.
Present.
Scott Keenan.
Present.
Andrew Kiris.
Here.
Robert LeMay.
Here.
Sue Lynch.
Here.
Tom McDermott. Lori Mercer.
Here.
Wendy Miss.
Present.
Edward Morales.
Here.
Matt Murphy.
Here.
Dwayne Perry. David Peeler.
Here.
Jim Pressel. Jerome Prince.
Here.
Barb Regnitz.
Here.
Regina Riddell.
Here.
Rick Rifa, Tom Schmidt,
Here.
Brian Snedcore,
Present.
Steve Spivak, Ronald Stone, or Red. What would you prefer?
Red.
Okay, thank you. Gerald Swets,
Present.
Sharon Zuido. Here. Mary Tanis,
Here.
Jim Tunn,
Present.
George Topple,
Present.
John Yokich. 1 minute. We have 35, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Again, thank you all for being here. We do have a quorum, so this is a meeting of the full commission today. All members are able to vote. Up next is public comments. Do we have any public comments? We do not. Moving on to approval of the minutes from the December 8th, 2022 Executive Board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If there are none,
motion to approve.
motion by Mr. Carnahan, second by Mr. Dermody. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the questions on the adoption of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the minutes are approved. Up next is the presentation of the Norman E. Tufford Award. Mr. Warner?
Thank you. So for those of you who have not been on NERPC before, this is a tradition that generally happens every January that was started under my predecessor, John Swanson. And this is an award that recognizes regional commitment, excellence, commitment to Northwest Indiana, and those that have really gone above and beyond in serving NERPC and serving the region as a whole. And so it's always a great opportunity to remember some folks that have been very, very active in the past. This award can be through staff or commissioners. And I'm very pleased to be able to present today. And I think I'll go ahead and say who they are because they're in the room, and then we'll make some comments. We will do that. But I'm very happy to present the Norman Tufford Award today to Michael Griffin. What I'd like to do though is ask John Swanson, my predecessor, former executive director of NERPC, is here, and I've asked for his help because he also worked extensively with Mr. Griffin to, if he would like to say a few comments as well. So I could ask both of you to come on up, and John, for you to give some comments, and for Michael to look embarrassed. And while they're coming, I was going to say it's a very nice problem to have, to be very tight at these tables. We may have to get some space in if anybody else comes, just as a heads up. So.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be before you today, and especially when you're giving out the Tufford Award, because it really is intended to recognize people who have made outstanding contributions to NERPC, to the local government, and to all of Northwest Indiana. And Michael clearly fits the bill with that, in that regard. I was going to read his bio, but then Ty said that we shouldn't go over half an hour. But if you really want to see a biography that details just how much he has contributed to this region, all you have to do is access Michael Griffin, Highland, Indiana on the web, and all these things will pop up, and it's wonderful to read. But I'd like to just express my appreciation to Michael. I came to the commission in 2004, and he was on the commission at that time. I retired in 2013. He was still on the commission, but he only finished up, I think, earlier this last year. So he had almost 2 decades of service on this board. And during that time, he served on multiple committees, chairing a number of them. He was on the executive committee multiple times, and he was chairman of the commission twice, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like any time we had a special committee to establish or just needed some help from board members, we would tap Michael. And for some reason, no is not in his vocabulary. At least I didn't hear it very often.
My wife is shaking her head back.
Christy and I. But in any event, Michael contributed a lot to NERPC. I was especially glad for some of the special committee work he did. He got the Economic Development Committee off the ground. He chaired the Pathway to 2040 implementation committee for our award-winning 2040 comprehensive general plan. And that's not all. I mean, if you look at what he's done beyond Town of Highland, beyond NERC, beyond being a state senator, you will see that he has been an adjunct professor at Indiana University Northwest in the SPIA School for Public Administration. He has spoken numerous times on behalf of Leadership Northwest Indiana as a valued presenter, and our staff used to have that as part of their orientation program, so they got to hear Michael firsthand. And then beyond that, you'll see that he's been involved with multiple professional associations actively. He's been on the boards of a number of nonprofit organizations and community groups. So I think what this Tougher Award stands for recognition of somebody who's been a really gifted and devoted public servant. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I didn't ask you if you wanted to say a few words. I do want to say that everything I know basically about municipal finance and governance in Indiana, I've learned from Michael. Not to mention my vocabulary has been greatly expanded the 2 terms that he's been chair. So I've greatly appreciated his presence here. He's, as you know, he's an extremely active and supportive cheerleader for Northwest Indiana and everything that the region can accomplish. In fact, there have been many things that he has indicated he would love for NERC to be able to do that make me blush, that he would like us to take on. So congratulations, a very well award. Did you want to say, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
It won't put me on the spot, you know me. But I'll be sensitive to your time. Firstly, it's good to see so many of my colleagues and friends again, my former colleagues. It is heartening to me, and my heart is very full for this. I am not sure that I am worthy of this. Those words were very generous and kind, but I will try to be if I am not. And I thank you for this award. May I leave you with 2 ideas that will remind you of how important what you're doing is. One story comes from my faith tradition. I don't know if it's yours, but in our tradition, we have the story of the Good Samaritan. And the Good Samaritan really teaches a lot of lessons. This person from Samaria actually helped a wounded man on the road when many people of his tradition and nation passed him. And this man, who would ordinarily not reckon well with the person who was wounded, saw a neighbor in that person. And the lands then in the city-state model, or the city-state model, were vast. What the Samaritan really teaches us is who our neighbors really are. They aren't just the places where in your individual counties or cities and towns that you regard as neighbors, it's those people, for sure. But it's also LaPorte, your neighbor in Lake County. Lake County, it's also your neighbor in Porter County. Porter, it's also your neighbor in LaPorte and Lake County, and so on and so on. So remember, the work you're doing is about being neighbors. And then I want to leave you with something Reinhold Niebuhr said. He's one of my favorite of 2 theologians I like to quote. And he talked about the importance of democracy, which everyone here represents and is a product of. And many of you are going to be seeking democracy's affirmation again for your continued service this year. And I hope you all do well with that. He said that democracy was a method of finding proximate solutions to insoluble problems. If that isn't NERC's job, I don't know what is. Because you really are a triumph of aspiration over structure. I've said this a lot to you before, Ty. Every one of you are elected to represent the interests of your community. And you get reelected by saying to the people that elected you what you did for them. But you come here representing 41 different cities and towns, 3 different counties and 1 state, whoever's here from there. And yet you care about Lake County, what goes on in Porter. Because you know it's in your interest that your neighbors have good roads so that the people that live in your cities and towns, Lake, can visit your friends and family there. And Porter, you know how important it is to have good roads in LaPorte so that your people can visit their cities, families, and friends there. And that you do things that are regional inherently is a triumph. So I commend you in it. And there'll be a lot challenging you in the current year to deviate from that, but don't. Remember, every one of you is a neighbor in this room, and every one of you can be an ambassador for regionalism, which doesn't diminish the role you play in your individual cities and towns and counties. It only enhances it. Because I'm glad that I live in Highland and can drive to Gary when I was a boy to get to the best Santa Claus in the Sears store when it was there. But I did get my graduate degree there, and I thank the mayor for a great time. It was safe. And all the other places I like to visit as well. I hope that you have that experience too. Mr. Executive Director, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, officers, I thank you all so very much. Mr. Past Executive Director as well. I will try to be worthy of this kindness that you bestowed on me, and I thank you so very, very much. Did I do that? Oh, my heavens. Sorry, we clerk treasurer's report.
Up next is the report of the executive director.
Thank you. I know we have a business that we have to get to, so I'm cognizant of that fact. But we also have a tradition at the January meeting of recognizing perfect attendance of those that have continued to be at all the meetings. And I know that's difficult, especially for those of you that have jobs and it's difficult to get during a daytime meeting. But we like to recognize those that made it through the entire course of a year by attending every single meeting. And so I have my first 4 awards that I'd like to give. And I think rather than sort of play like game show host or something and run around the room, I think I may, in the interest of time, read these and then make sure I get them to the recipients at the conclusion of the meeting. I think that might be a little more efficient. So let me read off. These 4 have attended all, not only the quarterly full commission meetings, which again, especially for those of you new on the commission, we have an executive board and a full commission. It's a full commission meeting today. So the only expectation for those that are not on the executive board is really to be at those quarterly full commission meetings, although you're always welcome to attend the executive board meetings as well. It so happens that all 4 of these are on the executive board, so I'm glad that they attended every single meeting in 2022. So these 4, let me start with these. Richard Hardaway. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and give it. And Justin Keel. And Jim Tunn, no surprise down there. I'll go ahead and pass that down. And George Topol, also no surprise down there. So these 4 attended every single meeting. And that applause is well deserved. We have an additional new set of certificates, which is new this year, which recognizes the fact that, again, there's no real expectation of those that are not on the executive board to be at anything but the full commission. So we also wanted to recognize those that have been consistent in being able to attend all 4 commission meetings over the course of the year. So this is a little bit larger pile, 10 I believe, so I'll just read these names and we'll get these to you later. Kevin Breitsky, Bob Carnahan, Jocelyn Denham, Tom Dermody, Denise Ebert, Bill Emerson, Bob Forster, Sue Lynch, Wendy Miss, and Tom Schmidt. So let's give a round of applause to those. At all full commissions. I will make sure that you get these at the end of the meeting and or find me after that.
That was staff recognition, right?
Yeah, this was on the agenda before I realized who was actually receiving this award, so it's a little
The
awkward.
staff recognition is for Ty, who has 10 years of service here, so, and I told him he has to sign his own certificate.
I would say it literally feels like 5. It feels like half that. It's gone very, very fast. As you know, this is an extremely dynamic part of the world, and I'm glad to be here, and it's never a dull moment here at NERC or Northwest Indiana. Thank you.
Next is the officers and executive board for 2023, the elections. On page 5, you will find the report of the nominating committee. The recommendations for the nominating committee were as follows. For chairperson, Richard Hardaway. Vice chairperson, Tom Dermody. Secretary, Sue Lynch. Treasurer, Wendy Miss. Executive board for Lake County, Kyle Allen Jr. Bill Emerson. Executive board for LaPorte County, Justin Keel and Denise Ebert. And executive board for Porter County, Jim Tunn and Kevin Breitsky. That is the report of the recommendations of the nominating committee. Are Are there any other nominations from the floor at this time? If there are none, nominations are closed. Is there a motion to approve the slate as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Regnitz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Snedeker, right? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the new slate is approved. Congratulations, Mr. Hardaway. It's all yours.
So before you get up, this is typical for January. We just have a lot of recognitions. It's appropriate for the first meeting of the year. And so before Justin hands the gavel over to Richard, I just want to thank Justin for his service. He's been, again, extremely active, extremely committed. If you knew the amount of texts and background information that have gone on surrounding every meeting, I'm very grateful for his service. And I know part of this is born in him because of his running a newspaper, and that's around the clock kind of activity, but he's always been available, day or night, weekends, et cetera, and which I've greatly appreciated. And on top of that, I think you all know this, but his commitment goes even further in that he is on the board of the National Association of Regional Councils. So Justin, myself, Richard, and Mr. Dermody will all be going to Washington, D.C. just this weekend, actually, to participate in that conference. So he serves NERCC's interests on the national level as well as here in the region. And so just want to thank him for his service and present you with this official plaque for your chairmanship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. With that,
It's all yours, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the nominating committee for this experience. I appreciate it. It's heartfelt, and I am going to do everything that I can to keep the tradition up. Your shoes are tough to fill, but I'll do everything that I can to make NERC proud and continue what you started and those prior to me, Mike Griffin and everyone else. So thank you. Moving right along, Finance and Personnel Committee report, Wendy Miss.
I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Dermody today.
Yes,
He ran
and
the
Wendy
meeting.
will be taking over here in the future. The Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning to review the financial reports for October and November 2022. Also reviewed were the bank reconciliations and claims registers for October and November 2022. There are two actions for consideration today. A request for the approval of the 2023 calendar year budget, and the second request for approval will be for the executive director employment contract, and I think, Dave, you will speak to that.
I will. An evaluation was done of our executive director, and he indicated to us early on in the process that it was his desire that he be treated the same as every other staff member and employee in terms of compensation. So when you hear the report of the salaries, that will include our executive director's pay increase as well. We're very fortunate to have Ty. I'll add that to the mix here. This is a tough job, and he does it magnificently. Do you want me to steal the thunder and say what we're going to suggest for the rest of the staff, or do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We are suggesting that our executive director receive a 7% pay increase, which will reflect again what's going to be recommended for adoption as part of the budget for the employees. I guess I'll entertain any questions that might emanate therefrom, but it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to increase Ty's pay in 2023 by 7%.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion down there? Mr. Chairman? Yeah, second by Mayor Lynch. Thank you. Motion and second that we accept Ty's contract and give him a 7% pay increase. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what have we done in previous years as far as the increases? Do you know? You probably remember the best.
Yeah, it's varied according to that particular budget year and what we've been able to do. So oftentimes and inflation factors in as well. Obviously,
Yeah,
this
that's
has
what I
been
was gonna say with the
an
inflation.
extenuating year. Yeah, and in the past, a more typical increase had been in the 3%, 3-4% range.
Okay.
But particularly given the discussion we've had at finance and personnel, particularly given the inflationary situation right now,
Yeah.
we've gone a little further than the past.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I have a question. If we're increasing the percentage that we're giving to personnel, what are we taking away from something else?
Talia?
Our budget expert here.
This year, we're not taking anything away. We were able to sustain the 7% for all employees this year. So we're not reducing anything. No benefits were reduced.
Any other discussion? Any other questions for Talia while she stands? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, the calendar here, the calendar for of meetings. Yes, go ahead.
Actually, you'll have to ask for a motion for the 2023 calendar year budget.
Right. Okay, that's for everybody, that's just the calendar year. Are there any, has everyone had an opportunity to look at the calendar for the for the calendar, for the calendar year budget? Is there any discussion? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by, was that Mary?
Yes.
Thank you. And second by Ms. Liberty. Is there any more discussion on the calendar, on the budget? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Technical planning.
Are we going to, the finance approved the budget, are we going to approve that here?
That was the motion.
That's what we just did.
Okay.
But Talia is still in the room if you have any questions or would like more of
If
an
you have any
explanation.
questions,
And the meeting dates for 2023, did we need to approve that?
I don't need to approve those. Those were informational, but those are on page 6 of
Okay.
your agenda packet. So, and since you, I didn't mean to jump into.
No,
anything,
that's
but
okay.
since
Go
you
ahead.
asked the question.
Yeah.
Just, again, for those of you that are new to the commission, if you look on page 6 of the future commission dates, the dates that are in bold are the full commission meetings. Those are the ones that, like today, that are particularly important for all commissioners to attend. The ones that are not in bold are executive board, which of course we need the executive board present. But if you are not on the executive board, you are more than welcome to attend and participate in the discussion. There are several things, including the things that you just voted on under finance and personnel that can only be voted on by the full commission, which is why we could not approve the budget until we had a quorum. So it is important. But hopefully that explains the dates. So if you mark your calendars for January 19th, today, of course, April 20th, July 20th, and December 7th, those are our full commission dates that we need a quorum for to conduct business.
Thank you. Moving right along, Technical Planning Committee, Mr. Bresky.
Mr. Bresky is not in attendance today, and I will give the report as co-chair of the Technical Planning Committee. The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, January the 10th. NERC staff presented the schedule of application, review, and approval for the current notice of funding availability, or NOFA cycle. 128 projects were submitted for funding for a combined federal request of $277 million. Topical committees will complete their project scoring early next month with a draft program for fiscal years 2027 and 2028, prepared for review by the next meeting of the TPC on February the 28th. Please see Charles Bradsky if you have any questions. There is one action for consideration today, which is Resolution 2302, fiscal year 2022-2066. TIP Amendment 2208, 2208.5. Charles Bradsky will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendments, then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 26 of your packet, followed by the resolution. Mr. Bradsky.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and other members of the commission. The projects listed on the amendments, which were an addendum to the packet, were released for public comment on December 14th and closed on January 4th. As stated on the public comment report on page 26, NERC did not receive any comments on these projects and the proposed amendments. Prior to sending these amendments out for public comment, we do send them to members of the Intergovernmental Consultation Group, or the ICG. Us government, we like our acronyms. For their comments on this, we sent that out to the ICG for their comments on December 9th. With the NERC and with other MPO's agreement with the ICG, if no response is received, concurrence is granted. We did not receive any comments from the members of the ICG, therefore approval was given by the members by their concurrence. On to the amendments. Anyway, sorry. That was it for the public comment report. On to the amendments. The amendments are, as I mentioned, were attachments to today's commission packet. Amendment 22-08 contains 38 projects, which are either new or modifications of current projects for fiscal years 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027. They include, for NDOT, there's 32 new projects. 6 of those were culverts, 12 were pavement rehabilitation projects, 3 were intersection or interchange projects, and those were all safety related, and 11 were bridge rehabilitation projects. The city of LaPorte is adding a new comprehensive and transportation plan. Michigan City had 2 projects that had added PE or design and right-of-way services to a trail. Cherville added a substantial amount of funding for right-of-way and moved the construction to an outside near the tip. This is the 4th phase of their corridor project that they're working on. Valparaiso added additional funding for construction in 2024 for a trail project and re-added construction for a roundabout that had, for some reason, previously been deleted. Amendment 22-08.5 contains 5 modifications and 17 new projects for NICTE, or the South Shore commuter line, for fiscal years 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. NDOT asks that we separate the transit projects from the infrastructure projects so that the transit projects don't get missed when they're going through the labyrinth down at NDOT. So we separate those and put them on 2 different amendments for them. That's why we have 2 amendments on 1 resolution today. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Bradsky. The Technical Planning Committee recommends the adoption of Resolution 2302, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second that we approve resolution 2302. Is there any discussion? Yes,
Who
ma'am.
was the second? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
The next meeting of the Technical Planning Committee will be on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, at 10 a.m. at NERC offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. NERC Economic Development District Report. Ms. Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this document is still available. It's the Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan. So if you'd like a hard copy, please see me. It is on the NERC website under the Economy in Place tab. In regard to this Economic Recovery and Resilience Plan, we've been making progress, meeting with steering committee members and other stakeholders in order to make assignments associated with the action plan items as well as the timeline. Furthermore, we've had coordination meetings regarding the future SEDS update and possibly integration with the IGNITE plans. Furthermore, we've been holding community tours to learn about the status of the projects that are currently in the SEDS, as well as have discussion about future projects. So if you haven't heard from me, you'll be hearing from me to schedule those tours. We're kind of waiting for the weather to cooperate a little bit, but we're trying to get, community visits done to learn about your projects. Our Recover Northwest Indiana Loan Program, as mentioned previously, is currently on a pause until we have sufficient capital in the loan fund to begin making loans out again. However, we did respond to 2 other loan inquiries and are facilitating information to those potential borrowers. Education to LEDOs is still ongoing regarding EDA grant funding so that they're aware of it and can factor that into their project planning. And on a staff level, we're trying to learn more about 2 new programs that were recently announced. One that might have some positive implications to us as a region. Be happy to answer any questions.
If I could just comment again, just because I know some of you are new to the commission, the Metropolitan Planning Organization designation that NERC has for transportation funds is well established, but this Economic Development District is fairly new. And so I really appreciate Dennery has done an excellent job coordinating all the various facets of working with the EDA and trying to find those opportunities that can help enhance your own communities. So we hope as we keep going here to be able to get you much more of a menu, if you will, of opportunities that your communities can avail yourself of that you may or may not be aware of, so that you can find not just those available through EDA, but entities like the USDA and others that have grant opportunities that we haven't fully tapped in Northwest Indiana yet. So that's part of the goal here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. NDOT, Mr. Adam Parkhouse.
Morning. Matt sends his apologies. He had an urgent matter come up this morning, so he wasn't able to make it. So you're stuck with me this morning. Sorry about that. Just a couple quick things for you. Hopefully applications are well underway for the first community crossings call of the year. The deadline for applications for that is 4 o'clock Central Time on Friday, the 27th. So hopefully everybody's well positioned to take advantage of that program. I know most of this room have. So, and then the only other thing I have is, in case you haven't noticed, with one notable exception around Christmas, and we had a sort of storm of the recent century, I guess, which is the old time to recap havoc with travel plans. We've had unseasonably mild temps, so our maintenance crews have been able to get a jump on their maintenance work plan for the year. Normally activities that they would perform during warmer weather, so crack sealing, things like that. That's been really good. They've been able to kind of get a jump on that stuff, so really cool for our maintenance teams. Obviously, we're not out of the woods yet. It is still January. We can still get a lot of snow. It'll be the heaviest time of the year for snowfall. So we're staying vigilant, monitoring forecasts, making sure that we're ready to go when and if winter rears its ugly head again. So with that, any questions or concerns, I'm happy to entertain those. If you just want to tell us how awesome we are, I'll send that as well. Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to say something about Dyer. You know, we've had a lot of revamping done on Route 30. The problem that we had is that you were closing up the side streets, and it took a while, but we figured out that if you work with the town in figuring out how to do that, because we had huge backups on Route 30, and of course, you know who gets blamed? Us. And it wasn't. We tried explaining that to people, but nonetheless, I think we can do a better job if you coordinate with those individual towns. When you do those kinds of things, it really does help everybody, and it gives you a better name.
Fair, yeah. We do try to do that coordination on the front end sometimes, you know, but yes, fair point. for sure.
And you did some extra work because you got a crossing across Route 30, and I thank you for that, because we really appreciate that. That wasn't in the plan, but it was put up, but we really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
no,
Thank you.
that was a difficult project, I know, and hopefully we got through it relatively okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, fair.
Any other questions from Mr. Parkhouse? Mayor, if you're.
Just a question. I know that this has been a discussion among some of the mayors and other people. Post-COVID, inflationary, thank you for the community crossing program. It's helped many communities. But understanding that the $1 million max is becoming almost, it costs you almost that to do one block anymore, the increases. Is there, and I know there has been some discussion about maybe adjusting that. Do you have any updates on where that might be going?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that is, you know, set by the state legislature. I know Representative Pressel was here at a meeting last year, I don't remember when, but spoke about some potential things that might be on the horizon, you know, possibly for this legislative session, that he would have to speak to that more than I could. But I do know that, you know, Representative Pressel is obviously feels the same way that a lot of the locals do about that. And they were having some discussions about something. I don't know where that stands sitting here today. Tired, anybody has any other information, but I know they've been having discussions about it.
You know, I was going to say just what you said. I mean, I know Representative Pressel mentioned it last time he was here. And by the way, he sends his regrets. He, of course, has some session today, so could not be present. But I'm sure we can get a more robust answer from him on where those discussions are with that. I'd be glad to relay on that that question was asked.
Appreciate it. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Parkhouse.
Thank you.
Other business? Any other business? Seeing none. Any announcements?
I just want to acknowledge that Charlie Brown is in attendance as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bob?
Yeah. The Indiana Patriot Guard has invited the town council of Cedar Lake to the Cedar Lake Fire Department on February 25th at 1 p.m. for an honor and remembrance flag presentation to the Cedar Lake Fire Department and the family of Timothy Ray White, a firefighter who lost his life back in 2011, serving the fire department for 20 years. The Indiana State Honor and Remembrance Director will be in Cedar Lake on that day to give the flag and do a presentation for about 30 or 40 minutes on February 25th. So I'm pleased that they're coming to remember Mr. White. And also, I've got a chamber luncheon today. We've got 3 different school systems in Cedar Lake. The Hanover superintendent will be there giving us a report, and hopefully we can get Crown Point and maybe Low at future dates.
Thank you. You're welcome. Any other announcements?
If I could just make a quick comment too. I just want to thank you again for attending today and helping us meet our quorum. As Justin mentioned in his comments at the beginning, you know, we deal with a lot of dollars here at NERC that have big impact on the region. So it is really important. But having been here for what I still can't believe is 10 years already, what I personally witnessed is that I think although those numbers and those approvals are critical, of course, they have legal implications and implications for your own communities. where a lot of the magic at NERC happens is what I see happening in conversations before and after this meeting, of the opportunity to connect with each other across the region. And so I just want to thank you for your presence, and I hope you get a chance to meet each other and find out what each other are doing across Northwest Indiana. So thank you again for being here today.
Thank you. The next meeting is March the 16th, 2023, and that's the executive board meeting. Is there anything else to discuss? I think we're adjourned.